Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to the farm. It's a beautiful July afternoon, and I am up here in the woods picking blackberries. These are wild blackberries. Up here we call these black caps, and they are just so abundant this time of year. Everything this year is really, really abundant. The flowers are bigger, the trees are full to bursting, the blackberry bushes are loaded. These are black caps, but we also have wild actual blackberries like you see in the grocery store, but just a smaller variety. And as you can see, my hands are covered with blackberry juice and I feel very blessed. One of the reasons I do feel blessed is because we have a fabulous property here. And that's what I wanted to talk to you guys today. This is really geared more to people who are really in the homestead community or people who want to be in the homestead community and who are now looking for land. So I'm going to talk today about choosing your homestead land. We kind of fell lucky with this property because we actually bought the house next door to our farmhouse, and we just happened to move here, and we just happened to live on the edge of this property in a previous home. And so we saw this property through the eyes of the next door neighbor, and then the previous owner passed away, and we contacted the heir to this property, and we arranged a sale privately with him. And so we now are the proud owners of 35 acres of fantastic old colonial land, and we are operating as a homestead. So if you're not in that situation and you're looking actively for land, or if you're looking at raw land, there's a few things to consider when you're looking at buying land, or a homestead or something to make into a homestead. And one of those things is, what can that land do for you? So basically, you see over my shoulder right here is kind of a bare patch of earth where we just finished harvesting some firewood from last year's tree harvest. We actually have a friend and neighbor who is a lumberman, and he comes in and timbers and thins out, and then he sells that wood, and then he gives us a cut of that sale. And so we are actually actively selling lumber off this property because half of our acreage is actually in woods. So that's one thing to look for. Does your property have anything that you can harvest and use as a crop, as a cash crop? I wanted this property because basically we can go up here to the woods, we can cut our trees, we can live through the winter on wood that we have cut, split, and seasoned. Also that we can sell. So half our acreage is in forest and timberwood. And so this pile right here was what was left from when he came and did that harvest. He left several logs there for us to have for firewood. And so now we have that down in our barnyard waiting to be split and stacked for this winter's firewood supply. So that's one thing. And then the other thing too is, I know it sounds silly, but these berries, they are free. And they are loaded with all kinds of good nutrition. I can make them into jams and jellies. I can make syrups. I can make medicines, or I can make oxymelts with them, sweeten different types of drinks and teas, anything. And this is just the first harvest. In a natural berry sort of world, non-cultivated world, the berries come in waves. So this is the first wave, and then we'll get another wave of ripe berries next week, and another one the week after, and another one the week after, and then the plants will switch to another variety of berry, and those will come ripe, and then we'll harvest those. So that's just all on the verges of the berries like to grow right on the edges of the fields here. So and right behind me is another area of heavily loaded berry plants, and not to mention the other thing that we looked at this land for. See all this grass right here? That's hay. So when that grows up, it's mowed, it's tedded, it's raked, it's baled, and then half of it, or a portion of it, goes with the farmer that does that job for us, and a portion of it comes back to us as payment for him being able to. So it's a barter system, and so that is an enormous crop right there. When you think, at least in my area, regular first cut hay goes for $5 a bale, and I'm sure that in other areas hay is even more than that, depending on where you live and what region and how close you are to a city, whether you're in a city or any number of things. You know, if you're lucky enough to have your own baling equipment, then it's not really an issue, but we don't have our own baling equipment, so we had to arrange a barter system with the local farmer. So that's another reason we chose this property. And we are in the southern tier of the Adirondack Mountains, so we are there's a slope to our property. Where our house is, it's flat, and that's where all the water springs are. But up here, we have a nice slope to the forest, and so something that some people don't take into account, but I do, is that aesthetically, this property is beautiful. That is something that I count as a big tick in the bonus category of my list of whether to buy or not to buy certain land, is how does it look? And some people may not want to put that in their list, but that was my list. I needed my property to be beautiful. So, and it is. So, yeah, so I want to take you down to the main part of our property down around the barn and show you another reason that we bought this property, aside from the fact that it was, you know, affordable for us and it was a private deal, and so it just worked out for everybody. So, but that's something to consider when you are buying property that is raw land, or it is a derelict property that you're having to make into your dream property, which is what we are doing. There are aspects to every parcel of land that you will love and that you will hate. Part of the advantage to our having purchased this land is this creek that runs pretty much straight down the middle of our property. It's actually a spring-fed creek, and you can see down here where it is bubbling up from under the ground, here, there, and here, and then just flowing straight down the middle. One big project that we are working on this summer, and I should say we, meaning my husband, is tearing out, you can see some of the weeds that have choked back the creek over the last few decades, and these little weed trees and things. He's gotten in here with the tractor and is in the process of cleaning that out, and we are reclaiming this land over here for our beef paddock along the side here. So that is, if you can find a property with water already on it, that is a pretty big tick in the let's buy this land category. And actually just right behind me here is where we have our property, our house, barn, water supply. This is our well. That is a surface dug well, and it is just right here behind the barn and supplies the barn with livestock water, and also I can use it for household use, etc. So it is one of the tools we use to be as self-sufficient as possible, to stay outside of the system. And so that basically all flows together. This property basically sits on a bunch of underground springs, and so that is another reason that we thought that this would be a good reason to purchase this property. This is a view that I don't share very often here of our property. This is our lower hayfield, and you can see the barn in the distance over here. And then this is the creek area. I'm sitting in the gator here. The creek area of the center part of our property. And again, the creek was a reason for choosing, one of the reasons for choosing this property. So this area here in the lower hayfield is the part that I don't show very often, but we are actually surrounded on 3 sides by our neighbors, by our village. And so this property was built here, one of the very first properties built here in this village. And sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing, but overall, we have really wonderful neighbors and we live in a really cool little village. And as we age, we considered that to be a benefit. Yes, I would like it to be a little less loud now and then, but I'm very sensitive hearing kind of person, and so noise does bother me. But I think overall, we just have such wonderful neighbors, and we have a terrific community here in this village, and so we consider it to be a benefit. But that's something that you need to think of when you're choosing your homestead property. Do you want close neighbors? Do you not want close neighbors? I really wanted to be very rural and remote, but this is the land that we fell in love with, and this is the land that we could afford, so this is the land we bought. And as time has gone on, we have just become very close with our neighbors, and it's just been a really great aspect of our location here. We are surrounded on 3 sides, as I said, by houses, by neighbors, but our northern boundary that's just behind me is backed up by farms, and then again by the Adirondack State Forest. So we are remotely located. It's a remotely located village, and so that's another thing to consider. Do you want neighbors? Do you not want neighbors? Do you want edge of village? Do you want edge of town? Do you want urban? So that's one more thing to consider when you're choosing your homestead property. So those are just a few main points to consider when you're looking at buying property to start your own homestead. Keep in mind that it has taken us about 6 years to get to this point. So, as most of you know, when you're starting a homestead or you're getting into the homestead lifestyle, your train is probably never going to arrive at the station. This is a lifestyle, and each year is different. Some are good, some are not good. Some are better than others, and some are worse than others. Some are more productive. But if you start with a blank canvas that you love and that you know you can work with, then you will always be successful. As always, thank you so much for visiting. Until next time, bye-bye.